Crowhill here. Today we review a lager and discuss Supreme Court decisions since Dobbs. Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Crowhill. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about some beer and conversation?
That's a great idea.
So what did you get us?
I got us a Sierra Nevada Summerfest refreshing summer lager.
Okay, well, we'll see. It looks like a lager, nice and clear.
Yep,
and you can't go wrong with Sierra Nevada.
Never. What else is on your mind?
Well, I remember this thing from Saturday Night Live when Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin would do this thing where they were both newscasters. And Jane Curtin would come on and she would say...
The opinions portion, right?
The opinion portion, right.
Yeah.
And Jane would come on and she would give her opinion. And Dan would always start his section with, "Jane, you ignorant slut."
Right.
And that was the first thing that came to my mind when I read Amy Coney Barrett's smackdown of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson in a recent case.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yes.
That was rough. And that was a big week.
Yes.
It was only about a week ago, but we can back this thing up to 2023 since the Dobbs decision and go through a few.
There's been a lot going on.
We'll see.
Okay.
Let's see where the W's fall.
Yeah. All right. So what about this beer?
Yeah, I would say, like you said, you can almost guarantee it's going to be...
Sierra Nevada's going to be
It's going to nail the style. It's going to be high quality.
Yeah. This is very nice. It's delightful. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it. It's a slight touch more malty than I would have expected.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah. So there's a little more, if you a little more sweetness.
A little more there.
You know what? But maybe, would you say that you would expect that drinking a lager next to a pilsner? Like a little more weight.
Yeah, that's a good question because with the pilsner, I expect more of a crisp flavor, and
there's a little more lingering on the tongue.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah,
but
I think that's fair.
Summerfest, it's a good name.
Very good. And Sierra Nevada, if you're when in doubt, buy Sierra Nevada. Yeah. They know. And
it's the most reasonably priced beer.
Yeah,
Okie dokie. Yes, the last time we talked about the Supreme Court, it was Dobbs, and that was June 24th, 2022.
And I was thinking, I wish I had done this. It would have been nice to go back and look at all the predictions, all the hair on fire, oh no, what's going to happen predictions from the liberals when they shot down Roe v. Wade. And the truth of the matter is, all that's really happened is abortions have now moved to the pill. There's you can get a drug to get an abortion now.
Abortions were actually up last year.
Yeah, so they're not.
I'm
not celebrating that in any way.
Back alley hangers, women dying all over the place.
Yeah, all this crazy
unwanted
stuff.
Babies thrown in dumpsters.
Yeah, and that women are third-class citizens or whatever. I mean, none of these things happen. Roe v. Wade was awful. It was an awful decision. Yeah. It was way past time to get rid of it, and all it's done is it's moved it to the states, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, the world has not come to a crashing halt.
Yeah, and the more things that go to the states, the more it's like the country was designed from the beginning,
that's right.
And glad to see it.
Right, but since then.
So I've got some 2023s here that we'll move up to 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Crazy week.
Right.
So you'll remember these. We've got Creative LLC versus... something ruled that a web designer can refuse to design a wedding website for same-sex couples because it conflicts with the designer's religious beliefs. 6-3 decision. What about our poor... and this is also in Colorado.
Okay.
And that's just what they do out there.
Baker, all they want to do...
The poor Masterpiece Baker guy went to the Supreme Court twice.
Yeah, they were just persecuting him. They're ought to
leave the guy alone now. Yeah. Now, you want to liken it to, say, like... blacks not being allowed to eat at the diner.
Yeah.
Right, first off, that's about race.
Yeah.
That's something different.
Yep.
There's no religious objection part.
Right.
And there's also, it's like, you could be, the inconvenience of it all.
Yeah.
You could be in a town with 2 diners, neither one of them want to serve you.
That's a serious imposition on your rights.
Right,
yes.
right.
But how many web designers are there on the planet?
And where do you go? Right. You don't have to get in your car and drive to a web designer.
Half of them email me every day. I mean, it's amazing how many web designers there are.
Right. And you have to sue this guy instead of clicking a different, moving your mouse just a little to the left.
And clicking a different
Boy, how come inconvenient that must be.
Right. And also, what is the protected, a lot of things in law come down to whether something is part of a protected class or whether it's a protected right or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Religious liberty is First Amendment material here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a seriously protected thing. So if you have a question of somebody's religious liberty versus somebody else has this tiny little inconvenience that they have to go to somebody else to get there, come on, which one's going to win?
Yes, and win it every time. You wonder why they even bother.
Why would you even bring a case like that?
Although, a little irritated, we're gonna run into at least one or two more of these, where I would say it's like the COVID thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what if I just say I don't want the damn shot?
Right.
What if I just say, based on
why do I have to have a religious objection? That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Why can't I just say I don't want to design your thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you can do that. You can do that. You can. There are signs on buildings. You know, we reserve the right to serve anybody. You know, okay, fine. Well, for whatever reason, long-haired freaky people need not apply. Right?
All right, let's go here. We got another 2023. Supreme Court ruled against Biden's student loan.
Oh yeah,
debt relief.
Was ridiculous. I mean, it was flagrantly unlawful from the beginning. Even Nancy, what's her name? The Speaker of the House. Pelosi said that it was against the law.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, come on.
I mean,
when you got the leading Democrat saying that it's not going to fly.
Taxpayers, you don't.
The president doesn't have the authority to do this.
If taxpayers lent you the money, now if private lender lent you the money, government can't say anything about it.
Right.
But since it's not the president's money anyway,
right,
it's just basically buying votes.
Yeah.
So they shut that down. 2023. Supreme Court. Oh, this is the Fair Admissions versus Harvard ruled that race-based admissions programs are unlawful.
Boy, why did it take so long to come to that decision, for heaven's sakes? I mean, why?
I thought we knew that.
I thought we knew that in 1960. Like, why did it take so long to say you can't decide who's going to come into your school based on race? I mean, come on. Shouldn't that be obvious? Why? A lot of these things you wonder, why in the world is this even a case?
Yeah, and even the beginning of the affirmative action, even at the time, they're like, it's really kind of unconstitutional, and it's not going to last forever.
But we think for temporary
we'll give it a short run, and then
we'll see what happens.
And so finally, here 30 years later, people are going, okay, now that Asians have to go to community college because they can't get it. All right, so
so that was another dumb one that shouldn't have even been a court case.
Those are 2023s. All right, we're up to 2025. Okay. I don't know why I don't have any. I don't have any good 24s.
They didn't do anything in 2024.
So, Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
We get to call her ACB.
I don't know.
Have we gotten that far yet?
No.
All right, Barrett. So how about we'll just go with that. Who did she replace? She
replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay. Yeah. And Trump was very much in her corner.
Yeah.
And had really high hopes for her.
Right.
And then she hit a stumbling block here in the early part.
There were a lot of conservatives who weren't so happy with her.
Yeah, she was doing kind of fine, and then she had 3 strikeouts here, or 3 strikes almost out. She sided with the Biden administration against her fellow conservatives in a dispute over the federal government communications with social media company.
Right.
That thing there, where they so I think a bunch of conservative states said that the government put their fingers on the scale of
and they did,
and she sided with them. Now that was
I remember being very upset about that one.
Now somebody else must have gone over too, because it was a 6-3. So she wasn't the deciding.
I think another Trump appointee went with Kavanaugh. I think Kavanaugh went with Gorsuch on that one. Yeah.
So this was a 6-3. Murphy versus Missouri, and she wrote the opinion.
Yeah.
That states and individual plaintiffs don't have standing to sue administration officials over social media platforms' content moderation decisions regarding COVID-19 misinformation.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the legal niceties of it, but in terms of policy, obviously we don't want the administration telling social media, oh, here's this person, we don't want that person talking, go after them.
Just
suppress that.
Right, suppress that.
Yeah. And they were doing that. They were giving specific accounts. They were going to Facebook and saying, we don't like what this guy is saying, suppress what he's saying. That is so outrageous. That's 1984-ish. And so, maybe there was some weird twist in the law that justified that decision, but I thought it was outrageous, and I'm not happy about it.
I got some more disappointment for you.
Okay, yeah.
Barrett voted to reject Trump's plan to freeze nearly $2 billion in foreign aid.
Oh, right.
And but I don't really have any details on. Just had a bunch of people saying mean things about her. So he said, this has to do with the U.S. aid?
I think so. Yeah. So the problem is where do you draw the Congress has to appropriate money, right? The Congress has to say whether something we're going to give money someplace, but the administration has to administer it.
Right.
So there's a question there of can the administration say, well, we just really can't do this right now, or it conflicts with our interests in some other way.
Or what could the argument be? You can eliminate all future money, but all contractual money that you've already said you're going to pay until the end of the fiscal year, or something like that. Would that be a part of it?
Yeah, I thought it was more, if Congress says we're going to give this money to this other place, the administration's job is to do that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of on that side, to tell you the truth. I mean, if the Congress says we're going to give $100 billion to Uganda, then doggone it, give $100 billion to Uganda, because that's what the Congress said. So I thought maybe Trump was overstepping on that one in saying we're not going to do that. But
well, but USAID has been shut down.
Well, USAID has been, yes, a lot of things in USAID. So something's changed since then. So how does that square with this decision?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how they continued to.
Right.
I don't know. Did they shame them? There's no shame in Congress.
There's no shame.
There's politics.
No shame anywhere in Washington.
No. And I have, let me see. I have one more. This is in April. This was the Oklahoma statewide charter school board versus Drummond. That Oklahoma filed an application with the state to establish the country's first religious charter school.
Okay.
So I get why this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Charter schools are independent, but they're publicly funded.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
It is a weird thing, and up until now, we haven't had anyone that are explicitly religious. And so the Oklahoma State Supreme Court said you could do that. That's why it got to the Supreme Court. And Barrett recused herself.
Right, she had some connection to the school or something.
I don't know, or she just had her kids in religious schools, or it just seemed weird now. Because of that, it went 4-4, which means it just gets kicked back to. So they did win their case in a sense.
Yeah.
And so so we got the win, or the conservatives got the win without her. But it was still a signal that, hey, maybe she ain't on board.
People were wondering whether she's... Now, that whole question of religious charter schools and thing, to me, the solution is so obvious. The reason we have all these disputes is because government is running schools. If the government quit running the schools, we wouldn't have any of these disputes anymore.
Yeah, but what are you going to do?
Well, you have private organizations run the schools.
Do we have enough private organizations?
I don't know. But so, that's the real genesis of the problem. Is if the government's running the school, then the government supposedly has to be neutral with respect to religion. So,
because then it just ends up the school of last resort, and the people who are already down on their luck. Well, which is kind of that way anyway.
Yes, it is.
People who can't afford private schools, but. Maybe you'd have more religious schools that would be getting the money that that property taxes are paying for anyway.
Yeah,
we could do that one day. I mean, is that
Is it possible to find some other way to?
Well, no. I mean, is it cool to make people who've never had kids
right
pay property tax?
That's a big.
So
I remember.
Do that
I remember back in the early days of my career, coworkers saying, "How come I'm paying for your kids to go to school?" And I'm saying, "Well, actually, you're not, because we're homeschooling." So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make homeschooling easier. Make it. Who knows? People find a way. Whenever the government acts like people can't do anything, you know what people do?
They
Nothing.
do something else.
No, I mean they don't. Nobody just says we're going to take away your food or your EBT, and you sit on the couch and starve to death.
Right. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah. So yeah,
right.
We'll find a way. Okay, are you ready for this? For some positive?
Okay.
Since then, Amy has come around. And don't you have a few
positives? I mean, one of the most recent ones, the one I kind of alluded to earlier, is Trump v. CASA. And this was around the question of birthright citizenship, but it wasn't specifically about
I was confused by the whole thing, and I'm still confused by what the outcome was, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's in the context of birthright. So President Trump rules an executive order that we're not doing birthright citizenship anymore. And some, peon little judge in some little town says, you can't do that, and I'm going to establish this rule for the entire universe.
Right,
you can't do that.
The universal injunction.
Universal injunction. And the case at hand before the Supreme Court was more about this question of universal injunctions. It wasn't really exactly about birthright citizenship. It wasn't. Although apparently some of the dissenting opinions, they wanted to address birthright citizenship. But the actual decision was just about this question of universal injunctions.
I find that kind of weird. Like, CASA is the Latino organization.
Yeah.
They're obviously talking about this thing.
Yeah.
But the justices said, well, we're only going to rule.
We're only going to review on this part
on the limits
and
of limits of power.
Yeah, and then they pushed it back down to the court to decide on the birthright citizenship issue. So basically, they just punted that until next term, I guess. But
they also. What they did was, so CASA turned around and refiled as a class action case.
Yes.
And so I think that what they were saying was, yeah, that's how you do it.
Yes. Yes. So the difference between, generally speaking, the way a court works is it's ruling on the case before it for the people who are involved in that case.
The plaintiff, the actual plaintiff, not a judge who just doesn't like it.
Yeah, this person versus that person, or this group versus that group, or whatever it is. They're not ruling on cosmic justice.
Yeah.
And that's what has happened with these ridiculous universal injustices.
So it was a win in that broad sense of this universal injunction business is getting out of hand, is what they were saying. But they didn't specifically say that there can't be any ever.
Right.
So they didn't really say, they couldn't define what could and what couldn't. But they just said, in this case, you can't universal injunction. You can come back with the...
You can do a class action lawsuit where you say, we're filing on behalf of all the people in this class. That's how you do that.
Yeah. It was a little kooky to begin with. Now, what if... but why not do that? Why not have a ruling on, or somebody bring a case to reestablish what does the 14th Amendment say, and then we'll go, yes, it says specifically people who don't have jurisdiction somewhere else. Yeah. Right? So, which means, two ambassadors, American ambassadors in Germany. Yeah. No, they are subject to
the jurisdiction
of the United States. And so just because the baby's born on German soil doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And that's all. It seems like that would be the way to go. And you wouldn't have to get a new amendment, because that's really hard.
I wish they had decided the birthright citizenship issue, because it's ridiculous. But anyway, so Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson said, basically what she said was, why should we allow an unconstitutional order or law to apply to people simply because they're outside the scope of the case, right? So in this case, you've got Trump v. CASA, and CASA is making this claim. And Judge Brown's argument was, well, wait a minute, if it's unconstitutional all the time, not just for these particular people. And there's some sense to that perspective. But what Barrett was saying is, well, wait a minute, all you're doing is exchanging an imperial presidency for an imperial judiciary.
Right.
You're allowing the judiciary to be this imperial power that can make universal rules, and that's not what judges are about. Judges are about deciding the case in front of them.
Right. Can I give you some more dismissive comments?
Yes. Yeah.
Because apparently they were, in SCOTUS speak, unkind.
Yeah.
This is Barrett. Justice Jackson, however, chooses a startling line of attack that is tethered neither to the sources nor, frankly, to any doctrine whatsoever. And for multiple paragraphs, Barrett brushed off her colleague's fiery dissent as illogical. Again, we will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. Before spending another page discussing Jackson's dissent.
Yeah.
So it was
mean. And after I read that, I thought, how do you next day walk down the hall?
The canteen.
Yeah, you go to get a cup of coffee, and there's Justice Jackson. What do you say? It's like you basically said, "You moron."
Yeah, they're basically saying, and so rather than address Jackson's point, I'm going to say it isn't worth addressing. It's kind of like that, right?
Yeah, you're so dumb.
Yeah,
it's not even worth.
Doesn't even have.
Right, doesn't even rise to the level of needing a rebuttal.
Right. That is so dumb. It's not even wrong.
Yeah, and from what I understand, the scuttlebutt is everybody's fed up with her.
Ooh.
That she was a DEI hire and.
What?
Well, I mean, I'm just echoing what President Biden said.
But he promised.
He promised
that this would be a DEI hire.
Yeah.
He said right from the get-go, look, I don't know who, I haven't even considered who it's going to be.
Right. But it's going to be a black
woman.
But
I can tell you that there's 97% of the people are disqualified.
Right.
And I will find you a black woman.
Right.
And then somebody says...
A liberal black woman.
You want a liberal black woman. And then somebody says, you only hired her because she was a black woman.
What? How dare you say
hair
that?
on fire, hair on fire.
How dare you say such a thing? I know. It's ridiculous.
It wasn't
it's
me.
Totally ridiculous. We didn't say it was a DEI hire. Biden said it was a DEI hire.
Hey, Chris, all right, how about Paxson?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
It is interesting because I don't know. I might, I don't know. Got something to see.
So the question here is Texas said that porn sites need to verify the age of visitors.
Yeah.
Similar to the way you verify the age when people buy a beer or gamble, get a license, and any number of other things. In order to protect children, you are allowed to impose a certain amount of inconvenience on adults to say, okay, here, yes, you do have to take out your license and show them that you're old enough.
To remember to bring it into the store.
Right, and all that because we have a legitimate interest in not having kids do this. So. To me, that's pretty obvious. And the court said, yes, the state, that it's not an undue burden on adults. The counter argument was people have a free speech right to look at pornography.
Well, yeah, but more than that, there are privacy concerns. Mm-hmm. So if I'm just showing it to Joe Blow, my ID... If they take it like at certain liquor stores I'm aware of.
Yeah, that they scan it.
They scan it, and who knows, now it's going to some database somewhere that says how often Pigweed buys beer, and that's a privacy violation.
Yes, it is.
And so I don't know how. If all you're going to do, and I think this is what I saw was you go to a brewery site and it says, "Are you over 21?"
Yeah.
And you click the button. If that's all you have to do to go to a point, then it's not even.
And they're not protecting anybody anyway.
Right, but the flip side of that is now we're going to create some new digital ID that has a record of every time you go to whatever kind of adult site.
So supposedly what they can do is
some ironclad.
Right, and nothing's ever ironclad. But supposedly what they can do is they can go off to some third-party verification thing that says, yes, we're not telling you anything about
unhackable third-party site.
Right. We're not going to tell you anything about this person except that, yes, they do have legit ID and they're over 21 or whatever the age limit is. So obviously that is this, some weird technology thing, and it's probably nowhere near as good as they say it is. Everything that's supposedly unhackable is hacked. It's going to be hacked next Thursday.
But some sort of Bitcoin blockchain,
Right, yeah.
irreproducible. You know what I mean?
Something, yeah.
I mean, that's got to be ironclad, or nobody would be. You know what I mean? So people could be stealing each other's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which they can't. So maybe.
Now, when Shapiro talked about this, he raised a point that I think is a very good point, which is, should pornography even be considered free speech?
Well, I remember when I was very young, and I mean, young enough to go to a strip bar, and there was a ruling saying that was freedom of speech, swinging naked on a pole. And I was like, I mean, I'm glad it's available because I'm 19 and here I am. But is it really?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Like, is that what we had in mind?
I don't think that's what we had in mind for free. I mean, free speech is supposed to be political speech, not.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Sticking.
So I think Shapiro raises a good point that what they really should have done.
That's really what they
really should have done is said, look, pornography is not free speach. It's not protected by free speech rights. So get over it. If the state wants to regulate it this way, they can regulate it that way. Yeah. Tough, you know. Yeah.
All right. What else we have here?
Mahmoud v. Taylor, and this is local.
Oh, this is hometown here.
Yeah, this is Montgomery County, which is just a little ways away. And basically, they wanted to indoctrinate all their students into LGBT nonsense. And they basically said, there's no opt-out. Your kids must come to these classes. They must read these books.
Yes. Now, if the argument was some group saying that the education is in itself unconstitutional, should not be allowed in anywhere in the county, I mean, I'd be behind that, 100%.
Yeah.
But that's not what the argument was.
No,
the argument... just saying, how about if my kid doesn't participate?
Yeah. So the argument basically, it's been well established that parents can opt their kids out of sex education classes or other kinds of things. That's been going on since we were kids. You know,
when you go to the petting zoo, you have to get a permission slip, and your parents could just go, you know what?
I don't want you petting those.
I'm a germaphobe or I'm a vegan or whatever. I don't want you. And what happens? Janie stays home.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's the way it goes. But in this case...
They're going, no, not only do we want to read child porn, you cannot opt out.
You must read this child porn.
So this is, I guess, about the permission slip. I think this was England, though. You could not let your kid go to a gay pride parade.
Wow.
It's like, so you can opt out of going to the British Museum of History Museum. Yeah,
but you can't opt out of the gay pride. That's mandatory.
Yes, mandatory. And that's kind of the territory I'm seeing here.
That's the whole progression that it's always been. Is we just want toleration. We just want toleration.
Right.
And now we don't want toleration. We want celebration.
Yes.
And now, no, you must participate.
Yes. Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that was
a 6-3 win.
Right, that was good. And it makes me wonder: do liberals believe that parents have a right to raise their children the way they want them to?
I mean,
I get the impression no.
Right. Well, mostly, I would say, of course they do, but the crazies, the TikTokers, and the teachers unions, you know what I mean? The administrators,
they think that they're their kids, and they're gonna train them and
because they're going to do a better job than they have. Yes, they're only concerned. They loved staying at home and not teaching kids during COVID and getting paid, but they were just concerned that their kids were going to spend too much time with their parents, and not enough time with us.
Right, those ignorant, unwashed, stupid parents are going to teach them bad things. Okay, here's a couple other relatively minor ones. Riley versus Bondi, which allowed expedited removal of a Jamaican citizen, which that one seemed pretty obvious. And then Medina versus Planned Parenthood, which I thought was very interesting. South Carolina said they're not going to include Planned Parenthood in their Medicaid payments. Right. And I thought, good for that. I mean, anything that defunds Planned Parenthood. I think
the argument was that if you're receiving Medicaid, you do not get to choose your own provider.
Yeah.
That, you will be assigned a provider or whatever. And, you want to get off Medicaid, then you can do what you want. But what? So let's just say so there's no Planned Parenthood. Can they go somewhere else to get an abortion or on taxpayer money?
Probably. I mean, I doubt it was that restrictive, but I don't know. I mean, I'm 100% against Planned Parenthood. Anything they can do to kick the teeth in of Planned Parenthood, I'm like, go for it. But I'm not sure what all the details were here. I can't imagine Planned Parenthood is the only abortion provider in the state. Right.
So all they're doing is trying to do a little damage to Planned Parenthood, not necessarily saying that there's no such thing as state-funded abortion.
Yeah, maybe that's the basis of the case. Is you're picking on Planned Parenthood without a just cause. Maybe that was what it was about.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it went 6-3.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the big picture from my point of view is, imagine if Hillary had won in 2016. We would have a very different court.
Oh boy!
And all these court cases would be going.
I got a quick 2025.
Okay, yeah.
Smith and Wesson versus Estados Unidos Mexicanos.
Ooh, okay.
And Mexico wanted to make. Here, let me get the wording right here. Mexico wanted to sue American gun manufacturers, arguing that the industry's practices have aided and abetted firearms trafficking to drug cartels in Mexico. 9-0. Slap down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not. I mean, if Smith and Wesson and Beretta and everybody is actively smuggling guns,
then
okay, you have a case. But the simple manufacturing that happened to get into the hands of drug cartels by Mexicans, probably living in the United States.
Yeah, I think what happens is a lawyer gets some case, and what they want to do is they want to find the deepest pockets they can. So they want to push it, up towards who's the big corporate person that I can get a whole bunch of money from, right? So they're not just trying to get the goons in the cartel or whatever and arrest them. They want to go after somebody with deep pockets, and so that's why they go after the gun manufacturers. And that's been a long-term strategy that so far has been shot down.
Hold on! I forgot. United States versus Scrimeti. 2025.
What was that one?
This is upheld a Tennessee law banning puberty blockers and hormone therapy.
That was great.
So the argument on the Scrimeti part was that it was a violation of equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And no, this is not.
States have a right to protect children. Come on, I mean that's the way it is.
You give them one.
States have a right to protect children, and you're going to go around and say we're going to take this perfectly healthy girl and we're going to chop her breasts off. And the states say, no, you're not going to do that.
And you're the bad guy.
I don't care about your crazy LGBT whatever nonsense lunatic philosophy. No, you can't chop the breasts off of a perfectly healthy teenage girl. And that one is another obvious one.
No, I mean, that was a gimme. I don't have the numbers on. I'd love to see 9-0, but it probably wasn't. Now I've got something on the horizon.
Okay.
Supreme Court agreed in March, I think, to take a case. It says in Colorado. I could have sworn it was Maryland, but I guess maybe not. To decide whether state and local governments can enforce laws banning conversion therapy. And this is for LGBT children, but I could have sworn that the goal was about anybody. Like, you cannot not want to be gay.
Yeah. So if I go to therapy and I say, look, I don't want to be right-handed anymore. I want to be left-handed. Can you help me be left-handed? I'm sure I can do that.
Or you name it. You're like, I'm kind of a hothead. I get road rage. Yeah. I need to do that. Or the flip side, you're like, I'm kind of introverted. I really just, I want to be one of those people that's more outgoing. Yeah. Can you help me with that?
I want to be a swinger. And right now I'm not comfortable with it. I'd really like to be comfortable with that. It's called
behavior modification therapy. That's basically what you do. It's like, I don't like something about myself. What is it? Okay, I'm afraid of snakes. I mean,
whatever.
We work our way through this. So you can change any aspect of your personality.
Well, you can try.
It never works. Most of these fail.
Yeah. Most of psychology fails.
Yes, and conversion therapy probably has a poor rate too, but you can't even want to.
Right.
You can't say, you know what? I had such a great childhood with my heterosexual parents and brothers and sisters. I'd love to live that life. Unfortunately, I'm kind of drawn to my same team. Can you help me?
Yeah. Well, you can't do that.
I'm not sure. I could try. Not in my state. You can't. You can't even try.
I keep hearing these advertisements on the radio about some guy who will hypnotize you to change, like whether
Yeah.
you smoke too much
Yeah,
or whatever else. You know,
yes.
you can do all that. And like, does it work? Who cares whether it works? You have a right, if you want to
Yes.
try it, to
Yeah.
go, right?
So
if I want to go
you
to
guys
some...
enter into an agreement, and
I go to some quack. What about, I'm driving along the road and I see Madame Mazelda on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And she's going to give me some therapy, counseling, whatever, so that I can understand my chakra or whatever. I'm allowed to do that.
Yes, you could get aromatherapy,
Yeah, exactly. Any
crystal
kind of
healing
nut stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I
can go buy a crystal and carry it around because that will turn me into a whatever. I can do all those things, but I can't say
the only thing you're not allowed to change about yourself.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
So stay tuned, boys and girls. That is coming up soon.
That's coming up.
We'll see how it goes.
And I think we're going to be called as key witnesses on that one. Do they have witnesses? Supreme Court
or just maybe just to make the formal argument.
Yeah, maybe we'll just do a
done
friend of the court brief. Maybe we should do that. That would be kind of cool. File a friend of the court brief on behalf of the Pigweed and Crowhill show.
All right, Pigweed and Crowhill versus whoever.
And it'll just be a couple of pages, and we'll basically outline the argument. As we got to figure out how much it costs to do that. That would be cool.
All right, so that's what the court's been up to, and it's been looking pretty good.
Mostly good.
They got a 6-3, and very few disappointments.
I'm hoping Amy Coney Barrett is solidly on the conservative side, but whatever.
She's back on Team Trump, it seems.
We'll see. All right, cheers.
That was weak. Thank you.
There we go. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.